Tony here. I'm going to show you guys a few of the solutions I came up with for the phone and accessory mounts in the Ford Transit here. As you know, there's not too many mounting surfaces on the dashboard here that will be kind of easy to put a phone. You have your typical air HVAC vents and things like that, but I came up with a little bit different idea, and I'm going to show a few of those to you right now. As I mentioned, there's not too many places here to put a mount. This is basically, as you guys with the Ford Transit know, this is what the dash looks like in the 22. You have a cup holder here, you have a grab handle there, you have these little pockets up here. There's something here to the right. I'm not going to pan over just yet because I want to show that to you in a little bit. Like I said, driver and passenger cup holders. And this is the first place I investigated right here, is this cup holder here. What I did and what I thought of is that there's a plethora of cup holders in this vehicle. There's one down here. There's a cup holder you could use in there. Excuse my scrawny legs, but you have one here as well. 1, 2, and then that repeats over on the driver's side now, or passenger side rather. This one right here, for those of you that are frequently drinking out of half-gallon jugs, you could fit one of those in there. So there's no shortage of cup holders in this vehicle. So it's easy enough to give up one of the cup holders, was my initial thought. So I'm going to show you right now what I did for that first solution. I almost said attempt at a solution. It's a pretty decent one. There's a few drawbacks with it, and I'll get into that in a second. So this cup holder here, as the mirrored image on the passenger side, very easy to get out. Just give it a little bit of squeeze and pull, and it pops right out. You got a few notches here in which that clips into. It's very easy to figure out which way it goes in because it does go in one certain way. These two notches here kind of index off each other, and I just dropped it. And they will match up directly with this piece right here. You can see these little ridges here and this little clip here. That index is there, and give it a smack, it's right back in. But this was a low-hanging fruit. I didn't feel like I needed to have a cup all the way up here. So I figured I would try something here first. So what I did is I took the cup holder out. I went and got some ram mount parts, and I will list these parts with links to purchase them on Amazon. Just your basic ball mount here, right in the bottom of the cup holder. You can see I used some extra hardware, a little bit of a pack rat. So these are Rhino Rack mounts from some leftover builds that we had. So all I did was mount that in here. You're going to see it's off center, and I did that on purpose to allow for clearance of the arm. I'll show you those parts and pieces in a second. And you take this, like I said earlier, you index it off of these pieces here, and it goes right back in. So now what you have is the ball mount inside the cup holder. From there, I took this aluminum mount. This, I believe, is a 6-inch mount, and I believe they also make this in poly if you want something lighter weight. I haven't tried both. I happen to have the aluminum version at hand, so I used that very quickly. And then that, like all their systems, if you're familiar with it, goes right onto the ball. Give it a few tightens here. I'm going to try to do it with one hand. And one hand not as easy. There we go. I got it tight enough I can mess with it. So now you have some place you can mount a phone holder. The one that I use and currently am really liking is their Quick Grip. You'll see it right here. Also, I'll note the part numbers below. This one already has the ball mounted to the back, and it has a spring-loaded mount, so you can just put some pressure in it. You drop your phone into it, and then it locks over with all these arms. All these arms are adjustable, so if you have different cases, bigger, smaller phones, you can definitely adjust this to use for your application. This guy mounts right in here. I'll show you that in a second, because I am going to need my other hand for this. And it gives your phone a really nice location where you're not really taking your eyes off the road to see anything that pops up on the phone notification wise, or if you're messing with maps and you're not using the CarPlay or don't have that feature in your van. This is a nice location because you're really not pulling your hand too far off the wheel to make any adjustments or things like that. And I'll show you that in a second. Mounted. Here you go with the quick grip mounted in there. You can see just locks onto that arm. You tighten it down. And the reason for the offset mount in the bottom of the cup holder is just to I gave myself a little bit more room for this knob here to tighten and untighten. Based on where you want it, you can kind of determine where you need to mount that, if you need to offset it at all. I wanted to give this tightening point a little bit more clearance, and it works pretty good. Let me get a phone out and I'll drop a phone in that and I'll show you what that looks like. It's actually in a pretty nice location. I enjoyed using it here, not too far away, but everything you need kind of right at your fingertips there. So it was pretty easy. It's a nice spot, and that would be what I would call option 1. If there's any drawbacks to this, with this phone mount, this quick grip does require some pressure to release the phone. And typically that's not a problem with something really hard mounted, but the problem with this is that the cup holder down here, with just a little bit of leverage, that pops out pretty easily. It's not really hard fixed in there too well. So if you see, if I rope on this mount, is going to pop out the cup holder. So that was one of the drawbacks that I initially dealt with. If you have a different mount that doesn't require that type of pressure, this solution could work, or work for something smaller. If you're going to manhandle the mount, the cup is going to pop out. I thought about looking at a solution to kind of hard fix that in a little bit better, but I kind of took a step back to reevaluate, and I came up with another solution which I think is much better. But this one's not too bad, pretty easy to use if you realize, or if you determine that you don't need that cup holder.